Well, thank you all for being here. This is our PEFL Fall Showcase from our Lab Cycle 3. My name's Deb Martinez. I'm one of the co-leads of the Global Innovation and Futures in Teaching. Uh, we hub the Possible Education Future Labs, and I work closely with Tanya Pinkerton, Rachel O'Flaherty, and Nicole Thompson. I'd love for you to take a moment and put your location or and maybe your connection to education in the chat so everybody can see where you are. I'm in Arizona. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Well, our agenda today is to showcase the PEFLs. So we have the play-based learning in early childhood lab, English as the medium of instruction, universal design for learning, and then we'll talk about beyond PEFLs. So welcome everyone. We'll get started, and Chanda and I are co-leading the play-based learning. So I'm going to turn it over to Chanda.
Hello, my name's Chanda Crabtree, and I work at Arizona State University with early childhood. And so Deb and I run the play-based PEFL, and our position statement is children learn through play, yet we're seeing so many curricular approaches that are less than playful. How do we negotiate today's context when academic rigor is coming down through diverse channels and limiting play experiences in the early childhood classroom? So with this in mind, we created three different subsections because play is very diverse and there's lots of different ways to utilize it in an early childhood classroom. So we have one section that is literacy in play, where we talk about how play is supporting early literacy by helping children develop language, communication skills, and understanding print through storytelling. And we talk a lot about pretend play and different games to encourage more communication and more literacy. So when adults engage with children during play, literacy learning becomes much more meaningful, enjoyable, and effective. So as a group, we're creating um, a, a training for parents and educators. And one of our members, it's her first professional presentation. She's aiming to present at the Early Childhood Conference. We've created a slide deck to help showcase best practices, and the goal is to help both parents and educators. That's what we do with our literacy and play section. But we have another section too. There's also play-based learning where we talk about technology and play. So within the technology and play section, they talk about how technology can support young children's learning and problem solving when it's used intentionally and in moderation. It's most effective when it's guided by adults and balanced with hands-on play and social interaction and real-world experiences. So this section of our PEFL is working toward developing a presentation for the Early Childhood Conference at ASU. And they really work toward collaborative discussions because this is a really sometimes divisive topic in the early childhood realm. And so they're working on ways to talk about best practices and make sure that it's being used responsibly and effectively. And then Deb, if you want to talk about the last one.
Sure. So the third subgroup, Tanya, if you want to go ahead on the next slide, is play and the outdoors. So we had many members of the group saying that their administration was not responsive to them. Playing outside with their students, they didn't find the value in them having recess other than right after lunch, things like that. And so this PEFL subgroup is working on different trainings as well as infographics, handouts that we can give to three different audiences: teachers, families, and administrators. And one of the members of this subgroup is a director of a preschool who is in uh, a little bit of a crime-ridden area, and they're also a little bit worried about ICE in an inner Chicago school. And so we've talked about how can we bring these valuable outdoor play experiences indoors. And so teaching their staff how to bring natural materials in and, get kids into the dirt that way because it's not safe to go out on their playgrounds. And we know that the outdoor play does support children's creativity, problem solving, and social development. We also know that many children today are not able to go outside in many places. And so we want to keep them connected to nature and gardening and things like that. So we will be presenting a training at a preschool also in New York. And we are working on an extreme weather guide for both hot days and cold weather. And finally, we're creating a Padlet to organize and share resources on all of our three subgroups. So there we go.
Thank you for sharing, Deb and Chanda. That sounds very exciting and super useful for all of the members and hopefully beyond.
Yeah, very useful for sure. Okay, I'm going to share where our Universal Design for Learning, PEFL, has been so far in this cycle. We've had some success in a number of ways. First, something we spoke about last time, we're continuing to work on our appreciative inquiry study and our open access repository. We're studying UDL through a global strengths-based lens. So instead of leading with gaps and barriers, we're asking where is UDL already working well? What conditions made that possible? And how do we make those conditions more replicable across contexts? Doing this through appreciative inquiry has been a great approach so far because it can surface practical strategies and the mindsets and systems that support UDL and help them to actually take hold in places. We have been gathering interviews and examples from people who are doing work across many different contexts. We've done interviews with educators and leaders connected in UDL work in places like Algeria and Egypt, including these underrepresented places in this conversation pushes us beyond a single country interpretation of UDL and is helping us see what's consistent versus what's context specific. With this, we've also been building our open access repository website so that this work doesn't just live in our notes or internal documents. We want this to be something that's easy for educators to access. We hope that it's usable in finding resources and examples and tools, especially those resources and examples and tools that are real and practiced in diverse settings. Right now, we just have a few interviews, but we are continuing to grow that repository. All right. And our other project under this UDL umbrella is our UDL community of practice that we have been developing with teachers in Malawi. This has been really energizing and great to be a part of because it's not just dissemination of information, it's really relationship based learning. We built this community of practice to create a consistent space where teachers can workshop inclusive instructional moves, share what's working, and problem solve real classroom constraints together using this UDL lens. We just launched this group last month, and we already have over 50 teachers in Malawi and other areas of Africa that have joined. In terms of what we're doing in this group, we've been focusing on practical, high leverage UDL moves, things that teachers can adapt quickly, even with limited resources. So we emphasize things that are small changes that really compound. designing options for engagement, representation, and expression in ways that fit their local realities and don't assume things like there is technology or certain materials available. And then we hear from them. We hear what's working from them, what challenges they're facing, and they share and discuss with each other and problem solve with each other as well. We really want to see going forward how we can sustain this type of model and professional learning community and what is needed to both continue it and then bring back what we're learning into our bigger overarching UDL project. And I guess I should say I do this work with Tanya Pinkerton. So.
Thanks for sharing that, Rachel. It has been really energizing, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for the potential.
Me too. We'll turn it over to you, Mohammed, for the EMI PEFL.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everyone. So it's a good afternoon here and good morning over there. So as you can see, this is our PEFL's lab. It's called EMI, English as the Medium of Instruction. So it's the third cycle. It has been very sustainable throughout this past 3 years. So it's a kind of report that what we did, what we are doing, and what is going to be done in the future. Okay, the second slide, please. So these are some projects that we are almost finalizing. The first one is key concepts. So we try to gather some concepts and define them. So the theme is how the epistemic fragmentation in the EMI context. So we have chosen some concepts and we are trying to define them and see how they can be very, let's say, efficient in the EMI contexts. So these concepts could include epistemic injustice, linguistic imperialism, cognitive justice, and localization of knowledge, and so on. So the mission here is as follows. It's to critically investigate the fractured terrains of knowledge production and the circulation of MI in the globalized educational context. So we see how language could play a vital role in sustaining knowledge and epistemological terrains of MI. This is the first. So we've gathered about some 15 concepts. They are ready, they are defined, and we'll see how we can, let's say, launch them for the PEFL's, let's say, lab. Second one is, second project is, it's about a very good publication of a book. It's almost done. So we have an ASU scholar, math, is almost done with the introduction and the preface. And thanks Tanya, she has been, and Martinez, they've been keeping in touch with the associations of teachers of educator, Association of Teacher Educator, the 8. So they have agreed to publish this book, which is about dislocating or locating policies, politics, and ideologies of IMA in the global South. So, by the way, this project was last term cycle. It was an international conference. So we proceeded to gather all the papers and edit them in such a great book. So the chapters are all done. We are waiting Matt to send his preface and introduction, and we can start with the 8 associations to finalize the book. The third one. Yes, thank you, Tanya. Yes. So it's all, these are upcoming events. So the first one is a case study. We are targeting the higher education level. So, and we see how MI could 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 work and could function in the classroom. So it's a case study, and we are focusing on a module called public speaking. So, and we are focusing on MI and public speaking, and let's see what are the constraints that teachers are facing in these modules vis-a-vis MI, and we'll have, it's a case study, so we can have some results, very pertinent results. Another project is a webinar. So we'll see, we'll investigate. Two scholars will be participating, very good specialists, linguistic sovereignty and the politics of educational crisis in the MENA region. So we'll see how the MENA region is suffering some fractures about this politics of education crisis. And let's get some conclusions about that from this webinar. And we hope this MI will sustain in another cycle. Thank you very much, Danny.
Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed. Your group has been very productive.
Mm.
I'm curious if the two upcoming events, if they are online.
Yeah, yes, I'll send you. And
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we'd be happy to help publicize that. They sound like great topics.
thank you.
Well, those are our current labs, and now we're going to move into a discussion about some work that we're doing that are beyond the lab specifically. And the first is a collaboration with Dublin City University. So we've been working with a small group of faculty from Dublin City University and a small group of us to look at how initial teacher education has been shifting in DCU and ASU in the last several years to be more equitable, more inclusive, and to support access to education and training for anyone who's interested in pursuing a career in education. So we're in the initial phase of development with that, but we'll be sure to share with you what our findings are, as well as any publications that come out of this. And then I'll turn it over to Nicole to talk about some upcoming events we have.
Yeah, so we're excited to be able to offer different types of support to our PEFL members completing their cycles. And one of the things we wanted to do was really be clear about different research methods and opportunities. And so we have offered different PD sessions. So far, we've had two. There was one about storytelling, and the picture on the screen comes out of that session. And we also have had one about theoretical and conceptual frameworks and how they're used to ground your research and research questions. And both have been absolutely amazing for that. So we are lucky to have had very skilled and thoughtful MLFC faculty deliver the first two. And we are very fortunate for the two we have coming up to have two more seasoned and skilled MLFC faculty members. So on February 11th, we'll have community engagement conversations presented by Dr. Carlos Casanova. And on March 18th, we will again have another one on storytelling by Dr. Tara Nkrumah. And so our faculty have rich and diverse expertise, and we are really excited about getting them to narrow down their focus for an hour's conversation that aligns to the needs of the PEFL population and help us tell our stories in different ways. That's super exciting. So I hope that you all are able to join. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Nicole. I guess that gives us a little bit of time for questions. If you have any questions about our labs, our intention is that these same three labs will continue into cycle 4. They've been very popular with lots of attendance. I see lots of people nodding their heads. But if you have any questions for our lab co-facilitators, or if there's anything that you'd like to discuss, we are happy to open it up for some questions. Mohammed, do you have a question? I thought you unmuted there.
That's fine. So it's okay. Tanya, I'd like you to speak more about the Dublin. So I didn't get the Dublin context. So could you just
Sure. So, both Dublin City University and Arizona State University's initial teacher preparation programs have undergone some pretty significant revisions in the last several years. And both of our institutions have a focus on access and equity in those revisions, making sure that, people who maybe in the past wouldn't have had an opportunity to get teacher certification now have more opportunities. I know in Dublin they were talking about some of the teacher candidates they have now that are from more rural areas that are far from Dublin itself were having difficulty accessing their place-based curriculum before. We've experienced similar things here at ASU. So we're really going through what our rationale motivations were for changing. And we'll be doing some focus groups both with faculty who are part of these revisions, pretty significant revisions to curriculum and structures, as well as some current students. We haven't gotten to the focus groups yet. That's the next thing coming up. And it's, as
Thank you.
always, been quite a bit of work. So we're excited to move to the next phase. Yeah, thanks for the question. It's been really fun. Any other questions or suggestions for the team? No. Well, I'll leave you with a couple of things. I'll reiterate what Nicole said. So please sign up for those last two professional development sessions we have. They're going to be great. I'm really looking forward to them myself. And then also, our labs are open access. We feel like the more people who come and join us and are part of the conversation, the more different contexts and ideas we get, the better for everyone. So I just dropped a link in the chat. People can sign up to be on our mailing list and we'll know about the upcoming events and activities and ways that they can be engaged. So please feel free to share that with your colleagues, other people in your network, because we would love to continue to grow these groups so that we can, all learn and be in community together. Any final words from the rest of the team? No. Well, thank you, and we will send out this recording. So if you had to pop in late or you have a colleague or friend that would like to see the showcase, please feel free to share that. Thank you. Have a good day.